Welcome back to Great Day Live. Heather French Henry is our special guest co-host today. She is hosting the second half hour of Kentucky Ancestors coming up right here on Great Day Live. So let's get right to what is in this one.
What a great, just a project to be involved in, right, for Kentucky Ancestors. This is season 2, and this is episode 2 that you'll be seeing today. And a lot of these stories really come from just like the most amazing background. So you've got a little smuggling going on in this one with some quinine, about it being in a dead body, and they had to exhume the body.
It's just Thursday. I love it.
It's just Thursday. And then there's some connections with the ferry boat during the Civil War. What's great about these stories is these families have submitted the need to want to find out more information. And so this is really helping these families to separate fact from fiction, where they come in with these age-old stories. Hey, this is what I've been told. Generations have been passed down with these stories. And then our genealogical experts at the Kentucky Historical Society and the Foundation are able to go in and really pull the documentation.
Aren't they an amazing group to work with?
They are an amazing group. And, you know, if you haven't been to the Kentucky Historical Society lately, do so. They have an amazing library. Each one of these stories and these episodes, too, actually uses a different type of database. So this one particularly, they went into, like, the waterways and the river, all the documents, and those are housed in Cincinnati area. And so they're able to help you to really navigate that path to find out your true history. And not that some of those fictional stories still might not be told generations down the line.
And they're sometimes more interesting that way.
They are, and some of them have been true, right? They've come and said, we heard this, and you go, yeah, that actually is true. Or, well, that might have been a little bit of a stretch.
There's always so many surprises in this, and,
no doubt.
Some shock and awe and everything.
There is, and each episode is surprising unto itself. And then later on, you'll see some episodes that deal with a little bit of law enforcement and murder going on in Eastern Kentucky, which probably isn't too far-fetched, certainly, to believe. But all of those connections really add up to these incredible human interest stories. These are real life. This isn't the movies,
and I think that's what is so compelling about it. And before we go, just because you celebrate so much of all the great things that are happening in Kentucky, we're so happy that you got to co-host today, and you're hosting the Ancestor Special coming up. So our friends at Dirty Teas made you a little something.
I have a Dirty Teas.
I love it. We like celebrating Augusta, right? And that's your town. Grew up there.
This is my town.
Moved to Maysville too.
Isn't that nice? My grandfather founded it in 1796. I love it.
Kentucky Ancestors comes up right now.
Kentucky Ancestors is brought to you with support from the Kentucky Historical Society Foundation.
Today on Kentucky Ancestors, our researchers attempt to unravel a complex family story of divided sympathies and smuggling along the Mississippi River during the Civil War. Our family mystery comes to us from Hickman in Fulton County in far western Kentucky. Join us as we reveal the details and special research methods that family history experts and the Kentucky Historical Society use to document this story. Kentucky Ancestors starts now. Welcome to Kentucky Ancestors, presented by the Kentucky Historical Society. I'm your host, Heather French Henry. Join our studio audience and talented family history research team as we reveal Kentucky's deep and diverse roots, one family at a time. Welcome to the show, Alice. How are you?
Very good, thank you.
Well, tell us a little more about your story.
Well, I want to document about the ferry. He had it from 1842 to 1873, and then his three sons and a daughter got the okay to have it for 20 more years.
So does your family help you? I know you've brought some family and friends with you today. Are they a part of?
They work on some genealogy, yeah, but not on my line. I do most of it, yeah.
Oh, okay. So is this a passion for you then?
Yeah, since I was 18.
Your family story is very interesting. Not that everyone's family isn't interesting, but you've got some really dicey things going on in this little story here. So your family story connects to an article written actually in 1984. So we're going to dive a little bit further back because of that story. So the author detailed the intrigue and deception behind a network of Confederate sympathizers during the Civil War who smuggled quinine further into the South. Quinine was a medicine used to treat malaria, often transmitted by mosquitoes. It was extremely important to both civilians and soldiers, of course, in the South. So the article suggests that many Southerners considered it an honor to help their troops by smuggling quinine and other medicines. And they could actually be pretty creative in how they transported quinine across the enemy lines, ladies and gentlemen. Very interesting, including like sewing it inside a child's doll or inside the hoop of a woman's skirt, right? So interesting ways they would smuggle things. Well, the article's author, Noma Dix Winston, related the story of her ancestor, Sally King. So Miss Sally, as she was known, had negotiated with a Union captain stationed in Hickman to retrieve the body of her son from the Missouri side of the river after he was killed in action. Well, the day of the transfer, as Miss Sally wept for her dead son, the United States troops searched the coffin for a false bottom, found nothing, and for a week, the Union soldiers actually kept their eyes on this gravesite. So they didn't fully trust Miss Sally. And according to the article, though, as soon as the soldiers left, Sally and another man dug up the body, actually. Miss Sally went and dug up a body to retrieve a packet of quinine about the size of a man's hand. And it actually was hidden in the corpse clothes. Alice. It was hidden in the corpse clothes inside a watertight silk pouch taped to his back. Okay, now let's just talk about Miss Sally. So how do you feel about this story?
Well, it's part of my family.
We all wish we had something, so delightful to tell. So can you read a section from the article?
The odd thing about this story is that after the war, Miss Sally's husband and 3 sons all came home. Who was the man buried in the King family grave plot? No one knows.
All right, Miss Alice. So let's talk about Miss Sally. So her 3 sons came home, and so she was a part of this smuggling ring, and to this day, no one knows who that soldier is.
If I could find the bones, I might have them dug up and have them tested.
So you do get a trait of Miss Sally down in your generational lines. So that is an amazing story. So let's then talk about the ferry. So do you know which ferry was running at that time between Hickman, Kentucky and Durant, Missouri?
My second great-grandfather, John Boyer, the Boyer ferry, he had it from 1842 to 1873.
So before we take our first commercial break, let's visit Fulton County. Our film crew interviewed the current captain of the ferry boat that still runs between Hickman and Missouri. Yes, and then we will travel just 30 minutes north to Columbus Belmont State Park to learn how the Civil War affected Western Kentucky.
I've been working on the ferry since 2009, and then I got my license in 2011 and been running it ever since. Yeah, we see quite a few barges, up and down the river. And we get a lot of tourists, a lot of farm equipment. Yeah, there's lots of large farms in the 3, surrounding states. Since 2009, it's been ran by the Mississippi County Port Authority. To my knowledge, back in 1900, the Lattices used it for their personal farm use, and then he collected fares from, people needing to get to Kentucky and Missouri, just like we do now. Then I learned that the John Boyer, I believe it was, owned it and ran it for several years before that, and that's the earliest history I know of. As a kid, I've been up to Columbus, Belmont State Park. I've always heard about the chain they stretched across the Mississippi to stop traffic from getting any farther south.
The Confederates moved in from Tennessee, and they took this place simply because of the bluffs here. They quickly moved the chain from Fort Pillow, which is just north of Memphis, and brought it up here because this was a more strategic point to block the river. General Leonidas Polk was in charge of Fort DeRussy. It is an earthen fort. The river does not look anything today like it did in 1861. In 1861, there was a huge bend just north of here where the river flowed west. As you look up the river today, you're looking at 7 miles. As the Union gunboats would come down the river, for them to get caught on the chain of the 140 guns that could shoot from 1 to 3 miles, could easily take them out. The Confederates are only here from September of 61 to March of 62. General Grant was stationed at Cairo. Grant decided to attack across the river at Camp Johnston. It was a lookout post. Grant was successful in taking the camp, but the 140 guns could reach the camp. He had to make a hasty retreat, go back to his gunboats around the bend. But Grant, after he had attacked over here and had lost the battle, and he knew that Columbus was known as the Gibraltar of the West, and he felt that it could not be taken without a tremendous amount of loss of life. So he chose to go up the Tennessee and the Cumberland rivers and take out Forts Henry and Fort Donelson. And he had the ability to get on the supply line and cut this place off and cause it to fall like Vicksburg did about a year and a half later.
It's 160 acres. We have a 38-site campground. We are a part of Kentucky State Parks. We also, of course, have this museum that you're seeing today. It tells the history of this site as well as the history of the Civil War. Our opening day is the last weekend of April. Open daily, and then we open up our snack bar, museum, golf, but we do keep our campground open year-round as well as our conference center.
Hello, I'm Doug High, the director of the Kentucky Historical Society Foundation. We're a nonprofit organization that was created to support the Kentucky Historical Society and its mission to preserve and educate our shared Kentucky history in order to better meet the challenges of the future. And we do this through major gifts, grants, and endowments from groups and people just like you. Please consider a donation to the Kentucky Historical Society Foundation or by simply becoming a member at KHF.